The next train part that I want to demonstrate is the wheel. This is another part that a lot of students have difficulties with. Keep in mind that I'm just demonstrating one way to go ahead and create it, that there's more than one way. Some students like to do extrusions to go ahead and get this, but my favorite way is with a revolve. So with a revolve, I basically create the sketch of this portion, and I go ahead and revolve it around the central axis. So to go ahead and do that, I'm going to come into Inventor. I'm going to do a new center.ipt. And I'm going to create a sketch. Once again, I'm usually not picky about what plane I create on. And I'm going to go ahead and give my gap in the middle. And that's actually where my axle peg will go through. I'm going to go ahead and continue drawing it here. I like to make it close to the correct size, makes it easier for me in the end. And then for those that don't know, I can click and hold on the end of a line and go straight into an arc command. So if I sketch along here, click and hold, go into my arc command, go into my arc command. Okay, so if it starts going the wrong way, I just come back and release. Click and hold again. There we go. And I'm not being super picky right now. I'm just getting a basic sketch created. And I'm going to bring that out there. I'm going to use a coincident constraint to pull that right there. And then I've got some dimensions. If I look back here, remember, I'm probably not going to demonstrate all the dimensions. I just want to go ahead and allow you to look on this on the sheet to figure out your own dimensions. But I can see that from the center to the center of those two arcs is 1/4, to the center of these two is 3/4, and to the center of that big circle is 1 inch. So back in Inventor, that will go ahead and give me a dimension from my origin to there, my origin to right here, and my origin to out here. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this line off the origin just a little bit so I can dimension it back to that origin to help start changing lines blue for me. And I can start putting in the sizes. Okay, let me look at a couple dimensions here. Okay, this one should be a radius of 0.125. There we go, that looks better. And I could put a dimension in from here to here. You notice that some of my arcs are starting to get small, so I'm going to fix that a little bit by dragging this out a little bit more. Dragging this one out. Just trying to work with what I've got. I'm going to drag this center up a little bit, except for it starts doing goofy things like that, so I'm going to undo that. I'll work with it from there. I should probably get the size of my hole going through the middle into this. Remember, I went ahead and split that measurement in half, so if I look at my sheet here, since I'm doing a revolve, that hole's diameter 0.28, so I made mine 0.14. And I'm going to just continue to work with these. I need a little flat line up there. So I'm not sure what happened to my flat line there. So if it gets too confusing, I'm going to delete it off of there. Delete that one off of there so I can go ahead and recreate that flat line. It looks like I had it right there. And I'm just going to redraw that in a little more proportionate now that I've drawn a little bit. I need to put my dimension back into the center of those two arcs. These arcs tell us that they need to be 0.0625. In the old drawings, they'd have 0.061 or 0.062, and that would go ahead and throw us off. So if I come back in here, 0.0625, and I can go ahead and use the equal constraint on those. And I could actually equal those coming over here as well. And that went ahead and took care of quite a bit of it for me. I'm going to tangent up here and tangent this one up here. And it's all blue for me. So now I can revolve. I just hit the R key to get in there. it automatically selected my profile. I'm going to find my axis underneath origin, and I actually want to revolve around my x-axis in this example. It depends on what plane you selected. And there's the majority of my wheel. To go ahead and finish up the wheel, I've got to put in this peg right here, and I've got to put in the hole or the spokes for that wheel. So to go ahead and do the spokes, I'm going to put a sketch on the back, create a radius of 0.375, a radius of 0.625 circle. So once again, I have to double it since I'm drawing it as a diameter. And then I'm going to go ahead and create my angled lines here. Doesn't really matter where we put them at this point since we haven't created a whole lot else. So this tire could spin to whatever angle we need. Let's see what that angle is in between them. So 30-degree angle. I'll go ahead and dimension that in here. And we'll see if it'll go ahead and extrude for us at this time. So notice that it wants to extrude all of it. If I could get it to select just this wedge, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and trim up a little bit to allow that to happen. So when I trim that, notice that it goes ahead and turns it back to green. I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and try, so if I trim this and put in a construction line that goes from my origin out to that line, and I go ahead and lock those so that they're collinear, that goes ahead and turns it back blue for me. Now I could try extruding. It's still confused, so I'm going to do a little more trimming to get to where it allows it. Once again, everything's still blue for me, and it allows me to do that. I'm going to cut, distance all, goes all the way through, and now I can go ahead and see that I need to have 6 of those holes, so I'm going to go back into Inventor. Use circular pattern. I can select my feature here or over here. Rotation axis, any cylindrical piece there. Set to 6 already. It puts all of those in for me. Now to add my peg, I'm going to come to this front side, create a sketch on that surface. If I hit F7, it removes all the material between me and my sketch plane so that I can see what I'm doing. I create a circle out here. And the size of that circle, I believe, is a 1/4 inch, so 1/4 inch diameter. And I'm going to project geometry of this line so that I can take a line from my origin out to that circle, and I'm going to go ahead and dimension that angle should be 15 degrees. And the length of this line then should be, if I right click and get aligned, should be 0.7. And that goes ahead and turns that blue for me. I can extrude that, and it comes up for a total distance of 0.375. That includes this upper portion, so that portion is only 0.25. And then I can go ahead and create my next circle in here for the next extrusion up. And I better double check that size. Okay, and I'm going to project geometry of the circle so that I can lock down to it. I'm just using a coincident constraint to bring that circle back in there. Extrude this circle up again. And then finally I've got to put in my hole to go ahead and have my linkage peg go into it, and that hole is 0.0625, depth of 0.25. I can either do that with a sketch, or once I've created my sketch, if I project geometry of that circle, I can finish sketch and use my hole command, pick that center, and I can go in 0.25, and my diameter is 0.0625. And there's the finished wheel. Remember that there is more than one way to do anything we do in Inventor, so feel free to try other techniques.